It's all shallow dreams and theatrics by cheap suit people. Meaning, it is a V12 world-class grand touring car with a stick shift. So why is the car cheap? It's because the snobby McSnobbingtons that like to write in their magazines and their auctions and their concours and their snob parties, like, they just overlook the car because Aston Martin's more obscure, and they're like, oh, it's English. Why did the English drink warm beer? They have Lucas refrigerators. Ha 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 ha. Shut up, boomer. What's up, people? So I am in a car I never put on YouTube, and this is my 2001 Aston Martin DB7 Vantage Coupe with a 6-speed. Oh, that is a long name, which means that probably a lot of people take it way too seriously. But that's okay, because it means it's an awesome car. Now, the first thing I have to point out is, I am not rich. It would be nice, but I definitely am not. So how do I have a fancy V12 Aston Martin with a stick shift? Yes, that is the question. It's a really pretty car, the DB7s. Everybody just kind of like turned their nose up and forgot about, because the Vanquish, when it came out, was in James Bond, and that's super cool. It's all muscly and mean, and everybody likes that. So the little bit more feminine looking or svelte DB7s got looked over. There were some other small things about these cars that made people not pay any attention to them. Now, the first thing that doesn't work well for the DB7 Vantage for secondhand or automotive enthusiasts, virtually all of them are convertible, which isn't that cool if you're a guy. Coupes are way cooler, and coupes are prettier, frankly. I mean, convertibles are nice, but meh. I like little sporty convertibles, not big grand touring ones. So there weren't very many coupes, which is ideal. And the other problem that just kills it, absolutely killed the cars, they're virtually all automatics, like real automatics, like super slush box, like in goes torque and out comes crushing disappointment. Like that's what an automatic transmission is. Now, the Vanquish, people liked, but it has probably the worst flappy paddle transmission actuation ever. Like, I like Vanquishes, I thought I wanted one, but everything I've heard about the paddle shifting tells me I would hate it. And there was virtually none of those. I mean, an even smaller amount that were either manual or manual swapped. And it's a big ordeal to manual swap a Vanquish. So, but the thing that's amazing is the DB7 here, which is a coupe and a stick shift, which is hard to find, okay? Really hard to find. But when you can't, it's a neat car. I bought this one because, let me put it this way. Now, first of all, actually, yeah, this is the most expensive car I've bought in like forever. I bought it for $30,000, which is the average price of the new car in America. Like if you're getting like a Honda Accord or something, which is a lot of money. But it is a V12 world-class grand touring car with a stick shift, and it had 9,000 original miles on it. Somebody who, the best I can figure based upon the license plate and the little like clues I found in the car, I think was like an heiress, it was a woman that had it, an heiress to like a bubblegum fortune, and I think she was likely into horses in the equestrian world. So this person bought the car because it was really regal. Oh, and it has a CD changer in the back, and which is funny because it still had like Seal, Kiss from a Rose from like the early 2000s in it. But the car was beautiful. And I also found a really cool Kershaw pocket knife, which I was like, yeah, score. But anyway, so it's a real regal combination of colors. This burgundy metallic, which is still kind of a hip color. It has this gorgeous biscuit interior. So I loved it. It was a gorgeous combination, right? And I got the car because I wanted a V12. And I wanted a V12 of more modern era that makes a little power. But if you're gonna get a V12, it has to have a stick shift, because I want to feel how exciting it is to shift the gears and double clutch, toe heel downshift while barking through the gears, and I just sing. You know what I mean? It's like the car, you're not gonna autocross it, you're not gonna track it. It's a fancy grand tour, and you're gonna take your wife out in it, like, or you're gonna maybe like on a road trip or something, and you're gonna get it out, and the air conditioning actually works, unlike my Viper, and you're gonna have your Bluetooth, your radio, and you're just gonna vibe. You know what I'm saying? But like V12 stick shift, that's why I got it. You guys, like, if you want a stick shift car with a V12, all the Lamborghinis like that, you're not gonna afford. They're mid 100s or more. If you want a Ferrari like that, you're gonna get a 550 Maranello or a 570 Maranello. And they're a little bit faster, but frankly, the Aston Martin, if you like were an alien and knew anything about art and form, you'd look at it and go, wow, actually the Aston Martin's prettier than the Ferraris, which is true, but it's like a third or less of the money. And then the Ferrari 456 is V12 front engine stick shift if you can find one, but this is still half the money and it's arguably prettier. So why is the car cheap? It's because the snobby McSnobbingtons that like to write in their magazines and their auctions and their concours and their snob parties, like, they just overlook the car because Aston Martin's more obscure, and they're like, oh, it's English. Why did the English drink warm beer? They have Lucas refrigerators. Ha 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 ha. Shut up, boomer. Okay, like, we've heard the joke. It's not that funny, okay? But to be fair, this car had a lot of like parts bin robbery going on. So it has Miata door handles. I'm not kidding. That's kind of a drag, but they're nice. They work good. They look good. So I don't care if they're from a Miata. I'm not gonna snob. The outside chrome door handles, you can buy them from Aston Martin, but they're exactly the same as like a late 80s Mazda something or other. I can't remember. I had to buy one because they break. And there's other things about it that are sort of dumb. Like, here's an idiosyncrasy. I think this is the dumbest thing ever in the world. I'm honestly embarrassed to admit this. The oil pressure gauge is not an oil pressure gauge. It's all shallow dreams and theatrics by cheap suit people. Meaning, I knew there was something wrong with the oil pressure gauge because whether the car was hot or dead cold, it would always read the same oil pressure based upon the RPMs. And I'm like, very interesting, what is happening? Well, what I presume is happening is they didn't want the average consumer to know what the actual oil pressure is because, I don't know, probably they don't know anything about it. And they're like thinking they're running straight weight oil on a Harley Davidson in the 30s because they're old and aristocratic money that wants their Aston Martin. I'm sorry, but that's probably true. Or that was too expensive and easy. So what it literally is, it just has an oil pressure sender to know that it actually has oil pressure over a certain thing. So if the computer reads that it has any oil pressure, it sort of just like fakes you into telling you what the oil pressure would be or should be. So you might as well not even have it and have an idiot light like a lot of Beamers and stuff, but at least there's something, okay? Okay, so I digress. Really great car, beautiful leather, everything's pretty nice. But the other issue with the Aston Martin is, and this isn't a big one, you just have to understand, it's a boutique car. They didn't make that many of them. I mean, like on the engine, there's a plaque that says, "Ooh, hadn't inspected by, I don't know, Kevin or something." And then it has like a number and a signature on it. And that's kind of neat. I don't know if Kevin knows anything about engines, but he might. He's seen a lot of them. Maybe his name's something else. But it's sort of boutique-y, like the wood, trim, and veneers. You gotta be nice to, because they didn't make that many of them. It's pretty, but you know, the dash, I spent some time fitting things and like doing fine, like filing, and I had to like re-glue in carefully the clock lens. And the shift boot is glued to it kind of stupidly, and I gotta fix that. So there's some things like that that you just sort of get over. You're nice to it, because it's kind of like an old handmade piece of art. But the nice thing about it is the engine, presumably, if I got this right, was basically the architecture off of a Ford V6 that they just doubled. And it gives me every impression that this is a pretty great motor, honestly. The transmission is a T56 variant, if I'm not mistaken, which is the same thing as in my Dodge Viper. So that's pretty cool. And honestly, if I wanted to, I could probably find a short shift kit for a Viper or a Mustang or something from Jegs that would fit this if I wanted to. My car has a stainless steel shift knob on it with the correct gear pattern because the really heavy one that was covered in leather from the factory looked stupid and the boot was up, so you had to like kind of manhandle it. You didn't have very good ergonomics. So what I did was I found one with the right thread on eBay with the right pattern, because it's a T56 and stainless steel. It's not gonna, you know, it's gonna wear nice, look good. It's a little heavy, so it gives you that sort of luxurious feeling shifting. And I put it on, and then what I did is I just pulled the boot down a little bit, and I put a zip tie on the inside to hold it down. The reason being is when I shift it, I can put my fingers all around it like this, the ball, and then it just has this little stick here. So I've got really great, I can just, you know, flick it if I want to like that. So that was a nice upgrade. One of the other things that's dumb about it, and I hate to knock the car because I'm going to go on about how great it is, and I like it, and like I think there's a lesson for automotive enthusiasts that want a really cool car and they're trying to find something that they can afford because idiots have inflated the prices of everything. So you got to know how to like search the little nooks and crannies and like what rocks to turn over to find weird cars that snobs forgot about that are really cool. The other thing that's dumb is the steering wheel. Like, it's really great in a number of ways. It's stitched cool. It says Aston Martin. It's all smooth. It's got like wood. This isn't actually wood. The wood on the steering wheel is fake. Everything else is a nice veneer. I don't really know why. It's presumably so you have your big clanky rings, or Karen driving it with her giant frickin' diamond because she doesn't mind losing $150,000 to depreciation on her car, that her big clanky ring isn't denting the wood. This is actually has like a little bit of give to it, and it's pretty convincing about being wood, but it's not real wood. So you don't dent it up and it still works. You can grab it well. So that's kind of cool. But so the Corvette C8 steering wheel is absolute garbage trash from General Motor, like overly big team of designers who are idiots and don't know how to drive. I'm sorry, but it's true. This one's almost there. Like, the size is good and it's got thumb hooks, and I can mostly get my fingers around here. But watch this. If I grab it too tightly, this part of my thumb, watch, it'll hit the horns. Like, how stupid is that? It's just dumb. The horn is right here, and this part needs to be recessed more so you can't hit it. And the other dumb ergonomic thing is you have to go like that to hit it. I don't care. It looks good, but it's sort of ungainly. I bought a Nardi hub so I could put something else on that might be fun, but I've sort of gotten lazy and cheap and just haven't changed it yet. I mean, it is a Grand Touring car, so I guess I'm sort of over it. Frankly, most of the time that I drive, it's sort of like this, sort of chill, but I think it's kind of dumb. Beyond that, it's a beautiful car, and I really love it. I was happy that at that time in my life, I was able to find such a grand car with a V12, yes, an electronic fuel injection, and actual throttle cables, yes, old school, not this BS fly-by-wire malarkey. I don't care if it works in your whatever. I like cables. I am like an old person hipster. And a stick shift, and that's really cool. The car is largely based off of Jaguar stuff, which goes a little bit older. But the thing that's cool about it is, you know, there's not really much in the way of performance options available for this, and the exhaust systems are wicked expensive if you want to get an aftermarket one. Since it was Jaguar based, I found a place in England, Gaz, G-A-Z, that makes shocks for the Jaguar platforms that was allegedly based on. So I wrote him, I said, sir, I've got a DB7, I hear the platform's really similar, you sell shocks for that, can you make me a set for the Aston? And he's like, I really don't know. A day later, a guy comes in with an Aston like this to his shop in England, has the shocks, and want to do the same thing, and he confirms, yeah, they're exactly the same thing as the Jaguar. And so he's like, he writes me back, he's like, you're in luck. A guy just came in. He's like, here's what I can do. And it was crazy cheap, because the car sort of floats too much. It's like under dampened on the front, presumably because they're kind of heavy. They're a little heavy. They're not like crazy heavy, but they're heavier than a Corvette or a Viper. So it sort of overly floats, and if you're really going fast over sweepers, it's just too much. So I got a set of adjustable front shocks, kept the same springs, and I could just turn the dampening up a reasonable rate to get rid of that float. And you guys, I think I only spent like $70 or $100 per shock. So for a couple $100, I totally changed the shocks on my fancy Aston Martin, which I think is really reasonable, and I put them on myself. They get some vacuum leaks and stuff, and they'll throw check engine lights. Don't freak out. It's just that's easy to get to. It's not that hard to work on. And idiots will be like, have you changed the coil packs? It needs new coil packs. I want to know. I need the receipt. It's a big ordeal. You have to take the intakes off. It's horrible. No, it's not. Shut your mouth. That's actually pretty easy. It's way easier to work on than a stupid Ferrari or some of their dumb timing belts. This actually has timing change. It's a great car, and all the coil packs, I think, are a Ford part, so they're not that expensive. You know, you gotta have 12 of them, so whatever. These are the original ones. They're running just fine. It idles perfect. I don't care. If they go bad, I'll take off the intakes and put them on. Big deal. So it's kind of neat that if you just love the car and you think about it methodically, you take a little bit of time, and you don't buy one that's totally trashed or something, you can enjoy it, work on it at home. Like, you can. It's kind of hard to get to the oil filter. It is. And this isn't exactly a car I would suggest a whole shot or drag race or autocross or road race. I mean, you could, but it's sort of big and it's a Grand Tour. But doggone is it cool. And the other thing is, it's so insanely sound deadened that even though I virtually have straight pipes on this, oh, I gotta tell you what I gotta do to the exhaust. I can't hear the exhaust. Like, if I downshift 2 gears into third and just stick it, like, ooh, yes, it makes a very sophisticated V12 of glory, like you're on the Autobahn or something, right? But I can't hear the exhaust because it's so well sound deadened. It's amazing. It's like this luxurious humidor of relaxation on a cloud, right? But that's kind of a drag. But if I roll down the windows and there's buildings and I step on it, oh my God, it sounds like the most amazing trumpets. It's so good. And I kind of want to make it louder in hopes that I can hear it more with the window down, even if I'm just out in the countryside. But that would probably get really obnoxious in town. So the exhaust system, I got to tell you guys what I did. And I'm totally destroying the glamour of supercars and spending too much money and like, oh, Aston Martin, I'm James Bond. I don't care. Here's what I did, you guys. This is brilliant. So for the exhaust system, instead of spending like $4 grand on some fancy schmancy stainless steel malarkey from England or something that I probably wouldn't like the sound of, and they'll be like, oh, it's very loud and sporty. Yeah, for the Earl, like that is sleepy, not for me. Sound the trumpets, people. Here's what I did. So the fascinating thing is the Aston Martin exhaust system stock is really nicely made, like beautiful mandrel bent stainless steel pipes and everything. And there's a couple of iterations. So there's two mufflers on the back and they were dead straight through, right? And then the tips are even like mufflers, but they're straight through. And then it's true dual exhaust, and it comes to this center muffler, which I didn't know what was going on there, but I had an idea. And it was just stupid quiet. It sort of like has an RPM where it rings and makes a cool sound, the stock one, but it's stupid quiet and boring. So what I did was I went on eBay. And sometimes these things get parted out because they're pretty cheap and nobody fixes them up because they're not fancy enough. Ew. So I bought a used exhaust system from the Catback off eBay for $200. And then here's what I did. I kept the old one, so I always put it back on if I need to, just the center section. And what I did was I cut out the mufflers like casing, the whole casing, so I could see what was in the middle of it. And there were two straight through tubes, which were real close to each other. And that's it, and sound ending and all that jazz. So I cut it out, but I left a little bit of the shell so it would all hold it together. And I bought a stainless steel mandrel bent X pipe, yes, where you can converge two dual pipes into one with an X, not an H pipe, but an X pipe. Because you get that really cool high pitch, high RPM ring to make it like a Murcielago sound like a TIE fighter from Star Wars, or just anything sounding like an F1 car. So I got that, and then I cut the pipes out in the resonator, and I just MIG welded in the X pipe, right? And then so that's all straight through. And then here's what I did, and I wanted to start this just to test it. So I took the exhaust tips out that have a lot of perforation in it and their own sound deadening, and I bought the same sized exhaust tips in stainless steel high polish, but they were just open, that had no muffling, and I did that. And then lastly, the mufflers in the back, this is the craziest thing, are dead straight through where they go in, and they have a perf tube, like a big old glass pack. But then at the end, they sort of turn off to the side. So I bought two stainless steel, just straight normal exhaust tubing that was like just slightly undersized on the ID of the mufflers. And I literally just slid in straight pipes into the muffler so it doesn't sound dead in the same way. Super cheap, and I'm not hurting the muffler, to test it out. And it sounds freaking great. I got like $260 in MIG welder time in it, and I don't care if that's not fancy enough for you people, because you want a $4,000 Quicksilver, Tubi, blah, blah, Königs, Kriegi, Sagi, fancy pants exhaust system. I just made my own stainless that sounds amazing, and I still have the stock one if I sell the car. Ha! I win. Yes. Redneck eBay V12 fancy pants exhaust system making. Ha! So that was cool. And it sounds great. But what I want to do is I want to take the mufflers off the back. They just slide off and they dismount. And I think I'm going to get some stainless steel dead straight pipes, like, because they still muffle a little bit. And I'm going to make that so it's true straight pipes off the Cat with the X pipe. And I'm curious to hear what that sounds like. I might not, because this is kind of like my fancy pants car that I drive because it's pleasant and has a great sounding stereo, and the exhaust is amazing. And give it a lick, it tastes just like raisins. By the way, that's a really ridiculous old internet thing. Comment below if you get that. So I might not make it too loud, because if you start it up, the cold start on it is pretty loud, and I want to be somewhat respectful of the neighbors. But that's that, you guys. I can show you more if you guys want to see it. If you want to see me straight pipe and do that and hear before and after, maybe make a video of it. I hope you guys don't mind. This is sort of the one car I got that I haven't shared with you guys, just because it's sort of absurd. I don't like the people that are super into like just flexing and fronting. They're like, oh, I'm gonna sell all my supercars and I'm gonna buy a freaking Bugatti or P1. Who cares? Like, how's that relatable? Like, the Aston Martin is a beautiful car, and I love it for what it is, and the mechanics and the art of it, and I love enjoying it. But I'm out here in the countryside of Ohio enjoying it. I don't want to go to a club, and I'm sharing it with you guys because you're car enthusiasts, and I want you to enjoy cars and find things that are amazing to experience because you like them. I just didn't want to get into that whole schmucky, vibing, flexing malarkey because it's an Aston Martin, so fancy, so fancy. It is so fancy, and that's fun, but I got it because it's got a V12, man. Yes! So I hope you guys enjoy your car, whatever it is. I'm looking at maybe getting another 944 because I sold mine and I really like them. And I think that's the most affordable, coolest sports car out of there. There's just so much you can enjoy. But I think the best place to look for the best deals is, believe it or not, Facebook Marketplace. I think that's a really fun place to find deals of cars that haven't been hyperinflated in prices yet. Anyway, so you guys, that's my old DB7 today. It's running good. And I'm just enjoying my day, even though I'm a scuzzy shop guy driving my super fancy car. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next time.